You know that feeling, right? You get to the end of a really long day, you open the fridge, and you just stand there, completely paralyzed, unable to figure out what to eat. Well, it turns out you are not alone. That feeling has a name, and today we're going to unpack the mental weight of all those choices.
It all starts with something I think we can all relate to, that feeling of being completely and utterly exhausted just from making decisions.
I mean, seriously, we've all been there. You're staring into the pantry. It's full of snacks, full of options, but your brain just shuts down. It feels like you're being asked to solve some impossible puzzle. So why? Why does something that should be so simple feel so incredibly hard? This quote from a teen just says it all, doesn't it? It's not about being picky or indecisive. It's a real, genuine state where your brain has basically just hit its daily limit. It's like, sorry, we're closed for business.
So this isn't just a feeling you have to power through. There's some very real science happening here. Let's actually dive into what's going on inside your brain when you hit that decision-making wall.
The official term for this whole experience is decision fatigue, and it's a well-documented psychological thing. It basically means that the more mentally tired you get from making choices, the actual quality of your later decisions starts to nosedive.
And let's get one thing straight right now. This is not laziness. Not at all. A great way to think about it is that your prefrontal cortex, that's the part of your brain that handles planning and self-control, it's like a muscle. And every single choice you make, from hitting the snooze button to deciding what to wear, it's like doing one rep at the gym. And just like any other muscle, it can get totally worn out.
Now, for neurodivergent folks, say someone with ADHD or autism, this can be an even bigger deal. That decision muscle already has to work a lot harder just to get through the day. So you can imagine that mental decision tank just empties out way, way faster.
And if you think this is all just theoretical, get this. This famous study on judges is the perfect real-world example of decision fatigue in action. What they found was that judges were way more likely to grant parole, which is a super complex decision, at the beginning of the day. But as the day wore on and their decision muscle got tired, the chances of a favorable ruling absolutely plummeted, from 65% down to less than 10%. They just defaulted to the easiest, safest choice, which was saying no. So we've got the science, right? But this experience really has two sides to it. There's how it feels on the inside, and then there's how it looks to everybody else on the outside. And you know what? They often don't match up at all.
In this just illustrates that disconnect perfectly. On the inside, you're wrestling with this mental fog, you're getting irritable, you feel totally paralyzed by the choices, and then you feel guilty about it. But from the outside, someone might just see you procrastinating, avoiding tasks, or they might just label it as plain old laziness. And understanding this gap is so crucial for having a little empathy for ourselves and for others.
And it's not just an emotional thing either. This kind of mental strain can take a real physical toll on your body. We're talking headaches, nausea, and just this bone-deep exhaustion that a good night's sleep doesn't always seem to fix.
And this is where we see how it all starts to build up. Because decision fatigue doesn't just happen in a neat little box. It spills over, creating these ripple effects in literally every area of our lives. Think about it. At school, a student might just freeze up when they're asked to pick a project topic. At home, it can explode into family fights over what's for dinner or whose turn it is to do something. At work, you might put off a huge project simply because you can't decide where to even start. And all of this just creates this vicious cycle of frustration, burnout, and shame.
Okay, so we've established that this is a real and really challenging thing. But here is the good news. There are absolutely ways to manage it. We are not powerless here. It's all about learning how to lighten that mental load.
But first, we've got to do a little mindset shift. Let's reframe this. Decision fatigue isn't a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of hidden strength. It's proof of just how much mental energy and effort you are pouring into navigating the world every single day.
So, this is the most important part. The solution is not to just try harder or push through it. I mean, you wouldn't tell someone with a tired muscle to go lift heavier weights, right? The real goal is to work smarter, not harder, by basically reducing the number of decisions you have to make in the first place. So in a school setting, this can mean some really simple shifts. Instead of a teacher asking, "What do you want to write about?" they could ask, "Do you want to write about space or the ocean?" Instead of chaos, you create predictable routines. These small, tiny changes can make a massive difference.
And at home, you can get so practical with this. Things like meal planning or creating a capsule wardrobe where basically everything matches everything else. That eliminates dozens of little decisions every single week. A family chore chart? That takes the decision of who does what out of your head and puts it on paper. It's all about putting choices on autoplay it.
And this idea can even scale up to our communities. Things like auto-renewals for subscriptions or restaurants that have clear, simple, visual menus. These all help reduce our collective mental load. But maybe the most important thing is just normalizing this as a real brain-based thing. That helps get rid of all the stigma and shame that can come with it.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. What is one small, repeating decision in your life that you could totally automate? Maybe it's laying out your clothes the night before, or always packing the same healthy lunch for work. What's one choice you can put on autopilot to save that precious mental energy for the decisions that really, truly matter?